Welcome to the Sports Misfits, episode number 2. I'm your host, Michael Asiffo.
And I'm your host, Hakeem Olajuwon.
Annikan, how you doing, buddy?
Great, how are you?
I'm doing well. It was tiring. Obviously, with reading week comes lots and lots of assignments.
Yeah,
here,
definitely.
The ills of being a joint student.
Yeah, and also being at York, you don't even get a full reading week.
You don't get a full reading week.
You just get, before it was 3 days, now it's just 2.
Yeah, you
remember your first couple years, it was 2, you got the Wednesday, Friday, Thursday, now you just get Thursday, Friday, so it's whack.
Honestly.
So for me, luckily I get a week, because I don't even have class Monday to Wednesday.
Exactly. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, we're going to talk sports, but first we have to plug the show.
Alright, so if you want to reach us on Twitter, you can reach us at Sports Misfits.
At Sports Misfits. SportsMisfits.
So that's at Sports Misfits on Twitter.
You can also reach us on the interwebs under the link with SoundCloud. SoundCloud, by the way. SoundCloud.com/TheSportsMisfits. That's SoundCloud.com/TheSportsMisfits. I wish we had video now because we could show you the beautiful site that we have and the beautiful logo
new studio
and the beautiful new studio that I myself created the logo. I thought I did a pretty good job on it.
Wow, wasn't bad.
The lightning bolt concept was pretty cool. Stenciled it in. It was either that or the Raging Demon logo from Street Fighter. I'm kidding, but
copyright.
Did someone say copyright? Yeah, man. But anyway, you can catch Fan Eye Sports at Fan Eye Sports, all one word, all lowercase, on Instagram and Twitter. Fan Eye Sports, obviously the company that we work and profit from. You can also catch them on Facebook with the link Fan-I Sports. And you can also catch me at Michael Asiffo, all one word, all lowercase, on Twitter and on Instagram at Michael Asiffo. That's 1 S, 2 F's. Annikan, where can they catch you?
You can catch me at Neek the Dream. That's Annikan Okutinyang. At Neek the Dream. That's capital N-E-E-K the Dream. And yeah, that's my Twitter.
For sure. Anyway, the first block is not going to be our conventional first block. We're not going to switch topic to topic. We're going to focus on one thing and one thing only. And it's not going to be...
Yeah, today's a very basketball-centric show. It's going to be primarily focusing on kind of theories and kind of not really controversial topics, but just theories and debunking kind of some semi-controversial basketball-related topics.
It's a basketball purist.
Yeah, basketball purist show, and some, definitely from my end at least, some very unconventional takes on those topics.
And let's get to one of those unconventional takes. So obviously your first take, and it's something that we've been teasing for a while now, something that we were praying for the article to come, because this would have been, to quote a wise man, a pipe bomb of a article. But
it definitely would have been an outlier as far as topics go. It definitely would not have been your typical everyday Fan Eye topic, or even any sports show in the country. It would never have been that kind of topic, but
yeah. Anyway, you do have the article. It's just the publishing is going to be a little difficult, obviously, with the site being down for the month.
Yeah.
However, let's get to that topic. Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, and there's been lots of great players.
Right.
Many people, including the people who lived in the 90s and the 80s, will tell you that Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time.
Right.
I agree with that sentiment. Annikan does not. Annikan, who is your favorite? Who do you think is the best player to ever lace up?
And I've said this from day one. I've always thought that Hakeem Olajuwon, obviously as you come up as a kid, it's kind of the North American mainstream thing to do from the moment you're a kid. Even kids who don't watch sports or know a semblance or even seldom, they don't know anything about sports. They're brainwashed to think that Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player who ever played in the NBA. I mean, Mike, you were in school. I'm sure you had even girls or guys in your class who, if you ask them about basketball, they would just say Michael Jordan, right? You always have those kids. It's kind of the North American, you're tailored and kind of brainwashed to think that Michael Jordan was the greatest player to ever breathe, live, and play the game of basketball. But no, for me, I think it's Hakeem Olajuwon. I've always said this. It's a very unpopular, unconventional, kind of infamous take to have. But I mean, I've always maintained this. I mean, there was one kind of pundit in the sports world, I'm not going to say his name, who came out. He said that centers should not be mentioned in the top players of all time. That centers, like, they're not applicable because essentially they're just blessed with height. They're blessed with genetics. They're blessed with, basically they should thank their parents. He kind of likened them to trust fund kids. You know, people like Paris Hilton, Donald Trump to a degree, Sam Walton's
Why does this sound very familiar? Who is this guy?
Sam Walton's. I mean,
you're not willing to say.
I mean, we're not gonna. I'll tell you after the show, but yeah, like it's a very popular take that's out there that they're basically just trust fund kids who have inherited great genes, and basically what this person was trying to say about some of the stereotypes regarding centers: they're not good ball handlers, they can't shoot the three, can't defend the perimeter, they're not good passers, and they struggle at the free throw line. Those are basically some sentiments that this pundit said. And Hakeem Olajuwon basically defied all of those stereotypes regarding the center.
I mean, he wasn't really shooting the three.
No, he wasn't shooting the three, but he
everything
could step
else
out.
was, yeah.
He could step out. I mean, the guy, he averaged 21.8 points per game, 11.1 rebounds, 3.1 blocks, 1.75 steals. He led the NBA in off. He was an above average offensive rebounder at 3.3. This guy finished his career as a top 10 in 4 different categories: rebounds, steals, scoring, and blocks. I mean, the guy could do it all. He could defend the perimeter. He could go out and guard guards. I mean, he was doing everything. He was as a center to be in the top 10 all time in steals. I mean, when we think of steals, we think of guys like Allen Iverson. We think of guys like Stephon Marbury, Rajon Rondo, Chris Paul. Those are the guys we think about when it comes to steals. But Hakeem Olajuwon was just he was the most versatile player to ever play in the NBA. I don't care what you say. The guy was cerebral when it came to the game of basketball. He galvanized his teammates. I mean, he was ingratiated himself well. He had the temerity to always play with passion, play with resilience, play with bizarrely intensely committed. And just, he had everything. I'll say more, but I wanted to give you the floor.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm glad you've given me the floor. I like Hakeem Olajuwon as a player. I don't think he's better than Jordan though. And first off, let's just look at the numbers like this. Michael Jordan played less years than Hakeem Olajuwon. Michael Jordan, believe it or not, people think of Michael Jordan as having this 20-year career and amassed these accolades after long years. Michael Jordan played 15, and 3 of those years he played for the Washington Wizards. So if we really think about it, Michael Jordan played 12 years in the NBA. If you really want to think about it, Michael Jordan played 12 years in the NBA. 15 if you count him being a 40-year-old, as an owner, being the best player on his team, even though being, 3-4 years removed from basketball? 3 years removed from basketball. So Michael Jordan played 12 years. In those 12 years, and you know what, let's add the 15 years as well. Michael Jordan, 6 championships, 6 final MVPs, 5 MVPs, 14-time All-Star, 3-time All-Star Game MVP. 1 year where he swept. Only 2 players have done that. Willis Reed.
Swept what?
The MVP. Regular in the season, same season, regular season, All-Star, Finals MVP. Willis Reed, Michael Jordan.
Well, Hakeem got the regular season and finals in '94.
In '94, again, when Jordan was.
Okay, but no, that's to me that's not no.
And, anyway, and you know what? That we'll get to that point, because my point is we're gonna get there, and I think that Michael Jordan, Defensive Player of the Year. A lot of people like to talk about his offense. Michael Jordan could play defense too, and I think that's part of the reason why him and Scottie Pippen were such a great connection, because you had the 2 and the 3 just locking people down, which is most of your team's offense anyway. And so you have Michael Jordan, who can play offense, can play defense. He was a steals leader in 88, 90, and 93. So in terms of steals, he's also right up there in steals. I wouldn't say he's right with Hakeem Olajuwon, because Hakeem Olajuwon's hands were great, but he could steal as well. Slam dunk champion, 2-time slam dunk champion.
Come on, let's stick to the basketball.
Right? NCAA champion, game-winning shot NCAA champion as well. So the clutch theory out there as well. Michael Jordan, probably one of the clutchest players to ever play the game of basketball. I don't think that's a discussion. I don't think probably the clutchest player to ever play the game of basketball. Michael Jordan, in 12 years, amassed all these statistics. Oh, and by the way, in those 12 years, he still has more points than Hakeem Olajuwon did in Hakeem Olajuwon's 18 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, but
and you know what? Let's go with 17 years because he had that one tobacco year with the Raptors. Yeah. And honestly, it's not. He just didn't have the juice no more because he was 40. Life happens. But my point is this: Michael Jordan in less time did way more, and the only time Hakeem Olajuwon could win was that Michael Jordan didn't play basketball.
First of all, I mean, you bring up some semi-good points. I'll give them to you.
Wow, semi-good points.
You bring up some semi-good points, but no. The thing with Hakeem Olajuwon is I don't have the exact stat with me. I'll verify that as we go into corrections and clarifications. But in their head-to-head matchups, every time the Bulls played the Rockets, Hakeem massively, it wasn't even close. He massively outplayed Jordan. And the thing that really, one of these underlying factors that people never really delve into when it comes to both these guys' careers is that Hakeem could beat the super team. Michael Jordan couldn't and never beat the super team. And what I mean by the super team is not a super team that's had their run and Michael Jordan met them kind of when they were in their demise and their collapse in the latter stages. Michael Jordan never beat the super team in their prime. I mean, we all remember in 1986.
Let me ask you a question before you go on. I know, but let me ask you a question. What super team are you referring to when you talk about Hakeem Olajuwon?
The Lakers. The Lakers in 1986, and he went to the Western Conference Finals. He played against Magic Johnson. He was a sophomore, by the way. This is not someone who'd been in the league 5, 6, 7 years. He went there as a sophomore, beat them, outscored everybody. I mean, they lost game 1, but they won that series fairly easily. Even Pat Riley said at the end of the series, we put 2 guys on him, 3 guys on him, 4 guys on him. We could not stop this guy. Hakeem Olajuwon, and that's the thing, is that Hakeem, he beat the super team.
Did he win the championship?
No, but I'm just saying he could beat super teams in their prime. Because even after that 86 season, I mean, I'm not, the Lakers still went on to win 2 or 3 more titles. And so Hakeem Olajuwon, and then we saw with Jordan, I mean, in 1986, he faced off against the Celtics. I think it was the semi-final round. We all remember the infamous 63-point game he had where he just went off on the Celtics, but they lost that series.
And they got swept. Yeah, but my argument to that
was playing against tougher competition in the West and still made it to the finals where he eventually met the Celtics. He met the Celtics and took them to 6.
But they lost.
Them to 6.
But they lost.
Jordan didn't even get a game.
Okay, you do realize that was the year Michael Jordan hurt his foot. He hurt his foot, and then despite his team being 30 and 52, still made the playoffs in a very weak East. I'll give you that. In a very weak East, 30 and 52, still made it. And Michael Jordan proceeded to destroy, with a crappy team behind him, a crappy Bulls team behind him, proceeded to destroy everything that the Celtics could do. The problem is Michael Jordan didn't have a second guy to help him out.
All right, neither did Hakeem.
Hakeem had Ralph Sampson. But Ralph Sampson wasn't enough to win when Michael Jordan was
didn't play to his potential at that time.
I'll agree with you that he didn't, but the problem is
he got that no-look turnaround fadeaway shot to win it in game, I think was it game 5, but nah, he still didn't.
And you know what? The thing about Ralph Sampson, and it's such a shame, is that injuries really plagued him. And obviously we know this now, that if he'd just taken a couple more games off, then this would have been avoided. But we look at it in hindsight, it's really such a shame. But the fact is this: Ralph Sampson, even when he didn't play to his full potential, was an all-star.
Yeah,
he won the All-Star. Michael Jordan, and to your argument of the super team, when Michael Jordan was playing those Celtics and just came up short, it was early. It was his sophomore year, just like Hakeem's sophomore year. It was early.
Okay.
And fine, you can cancel those out. 2, it's not like Michael Jordan was in a position where his team was really, really good. We saw with Michael Jordan out in that year, well, not we saw, because quite frankly, I wasn't born yet, but it's been seen that when Michael Jordan was out with that foot injury and missed those games, and thank goodness he did, because you never know with foot injuries, that team sucked. Like, absolutely sucked.
Who, the Bulls?
The Bulls sucked.
Yeah, they did. But
your argument to me, and
it's a very strong argument, because
your argument to me is because not in '91 they went and beat No, I know, but in '91 they go and beat the Pistons. I know the Pistons were on the decline, but it's not like they sucked either. They got to the finals for God's sakes. Yeah, they got to the conference finals for God's sakes. They didn't suck, and they swept them. And then they go face Los Angeles Lakers, who were still very, very good. And a lot of people will say they were on the... No, they were not. They were very, very good. Go watch those Laker tapes. It was Showtime all over the place. And they beat them in 5. And Michael Jordan just laid waste to everybody who was guarding him.
But see, that's the thing. But the thing is, and in getting into... When I was bringing up that whole super team point, I was still going to get to a larger point. Yes, Michael Jordan, of course, you can say his team wasn't as... Jordan, they fairly had a similar team. Besides, by the way, people don't know, Andrew Wiggins' dad was on that Houston Rockets team that in '86. Mitchell Wiggins was on that team, and he was a starter. Besides Ralph Sampson, Hakeem they were basically the same team. And yes, Sampson's an all-star, but at that time, he's not at his best. So they basically have the same team. It's really just Jordan on the Bulls and Olajuwon on the Rockets. And in talking about that super team point, the larger
Mitchell Wiggins was actually really good though.
Yeah, he was really good.
It was the issues with the drugs.
Yeah, but I'm saying he
was really good.
But he was good, but he wasn't what he could be, and he didn't prove to be much, especially in the Celtics series. He didn't prove to be much. But my larger point I was trying to get to was that Hakeem. I talked about in my article last year that the Pistons employed the Jordan rules method to contain Jordan for 3 years, and it worked. Yes, he combated it. Yes, ultimately 3 years later he combated it and was able to rise above the Jordan rules method. But no, for a moment of time you could contain him, you could compartmentalize him, you could restrain him. Hakeem could not be contained at any point in his career. He had arguably the most unstoppable move. Everyone talks about Kareem's skyhook, how that's the most unstoppable move in basketball. No. To me, the most unstoppable move in basketball is the dream shake. Because for one, it's finesse. It's not a very mundane, kind of very robotic, kind of repetitive move. Yeah, robotic, repetitive move. The dream shake encompasses a large amount of different spins, fakes, body contortions, and different things that can be done to outmaneuver your defender. He would drive baseline, he had the spin, he would go up, he would go under. I'm not sure if you saw the Spurs Western Conference Finals in '95. Hakeem was just making David Robinson dance all over the court. This was the MVP of the league that year. And Hakeem Olajuwon just made him look like a dancing wind-up doll. This guy just destroyed him. And he was doing it even harken back into this 1986 Western Conference Finals. Hakeem could not be stopped. Even Jordan said it, that even Jordan, the person who I'm juxtapositioning Olajuwon to, said that if there was one team I would have hated to face in the finals from the West, it would have been the Rockets, because all those other teams could be stopped in some way. The Jazz, Karl Malone, he wasn't an expert on the post. Yes, most of his action came from pick and roll. If it was the Sean Kemp with the Sonics, he had all the athleticism, but he could ultimately be stopped. You could get in his head in the post. Phoenix Suns, Charles Barkley, he's talented, but he's going to burn out. Clyde Drexler, the Blazers, that was a team you think that could beat them. So many weapons. They had Clifford Robinson, Terry Porter, Clyde Drexler.
They had such an embarrassment of riches, and Michael Jordan came in there and
that guy could shoot from any. Are you kidding me? Clifford Robinson. You talk about J.R. Smith, guys who are supposedly X Factor players as a sixth man today. Are you kidding me? Clifford Robinson, 6'9", 6'10", averaging 19 points a game for his career. When has J.R. Smith ever averaged 19 points a game in a season? What I'm trying to tell you, these are all teams that had way better all-around teams than Hakeem's teams usually did. But Jordan said, I feared, because despite what I can do, Rodman cannot, even with Rodman's ability to kind of be a ground and pound, very physical, playing very physical, very rough, very tough, he can't stop Hakeem. Hakeem has a good 6 inches on him, quicker than him, stronger than him, he has that his fall away baseline shot. He has the ability to drive, maneuver up and under, use his dream shake. Because the thing is, the skyhook was just one move, but the dream shake had many variations of it. There was the dream shake where he goes up and under, drives baseline, does the mini crossover, goes like this, pulls back, and then comes back under. There's the dream shake where he's kind of like from the top of the key, just slightly inside the key, where he'll back you down, do an up and under, and then just go off. When you go up, he goes under and goes for a layup. There's so many variations of the dream shake. There's the one where he's coming from the opposite baseline on the weak side, where he just does a spin and then lays it up, coming inside to the basket off the glass. There's so many variations of the dream shake that you cannot stop it. And especially with somebody who's as quick twitched, very twitchy movements, very sound, very agile, agility. And that was another thing that separated Hakeem Olajuwon from many centers. Patrick Ewing, Dikembe Mutombo, Shaq, a lot of these guys, they were all very great players, but they were very robotic and they were stiff, very stiff.
I would argue that Shaq was pretty loosey-goosey.
No, okay.
And it was really weird to have all the other centers. Shaq's the one.
Yeah, and he was the biggest one.
Yeah, so, but you get
my point. Yeah. You get my point. Ewing, Mutombo, Alonzo Mourning, a lot of these other centers, especially Georgetown centers at that time, which seemed to be like the center factory, were very stiff, very stiff, very robotic.
Who coached them, right?
John Thompson?
Exactly.
But I'm just saying, when you get to the NBA, it's about evolving. Hakeem came into the NBA, yes, he was a scorer already, but he found different ways to score. And when you get into the NBA, it's about evolution. It's about elevation. It's about transformation. It's about changing the way you do things. And Hakeem Olajuwon did it every year. And his offensive ability was unstoppable to the point. And Jordan even said he's the greatest center of all time and one of the greatest players. I put him in my top 5, not even top 10. But yeah, Jordan's on. But no player is gonna say, okay, obviously you're gonna say, but Jordan didn't say he's better than me. But no player is gonna say in their own pride that someone was better than me.
No, that's not that. I was gonna say that, but that's not. That wasn't even like really an argument.
Hakeem Olajuwon was just, and he was a positive outlier. He was an anomaly. He was to me the biggest aberration in the most positive sense of the word in the NBA. And you couldn't contain him. The Jordan rules worked for a time. There's no Olajuwon rules. There's nothing, even the Suns, nobody, because even in those series in 94, 95, when the Suns were able to contain Olajuwon, they still won both those series and went to the finals and won championships. There was never, and then even, the one team which still strikes me, I'm still dumbfounded till this day, is that why couldn't Olajuwon beat the Seattle Supersonics en route, even in 93, even 93, 96, the years they didn't win the title. Because the years they won, they never met the Sonics. That's what they never met the Sonics.
And they also never met the Bulls, which is another thing altogether.
Right, but then but the Bulls, when he went to the finals 3 times, the Bulls were never there.
Well, I think we all know why.
Right, yeah, okay, but he could have got there. The Jazz just kind of reloaded in the late 90s.
But my whole thing is you're walking away from the point, and that they've never met. He never met Jordan.
But the Dream Shake was speaking to my point.
No, listen, the Dream Shake is. This isn't the King of Iron Fist tournament. One move isn't going to win you a championship.
No.
Okay?
That wasn't my point. My point was that there was never a method that could effectively halt and fully stop Olajuwon the way it did for Jordan for 3 years.
Okay, the argument to that is there
never was.
Okay, not one person could have individually stop him.
One person.
But
there were 4 guys on him.
Okay, so you do realize Olajuwon only won 2 championships. So all these years, all these times, the Dream Shake was working.
Again, Jordan had better teams later on than Olajuwon did. He had better teams.
I understand, but
he had better teams later on.
Hey, you can make the argument. You can make the argument, but all these years didn't win a championship. Michael Jordan won 6, twice, 3 times in a row, and the 2 times that he had to take the break, he was like, hey, I'm going to retire from basketball for one reason or another. There's a lot of conspiracy theories to that as well, which we will not get into. That's another story for another time. Right? Those 2 years that he decided. No, I'm not blaming Olajuwon. Those 2 years, he didn't meet Jordan. And so you wonder, with all these, and you talked about, hey, there was the Jordan rules. You do realize there was only 1 year Michael Jordan didn't score 30 or more as an average in the playoffs. And that was his rookie year where he averaged 29.7.
So basically 30.
So there was not 1 year that Michael Jordan did not score 29 or more. So with all this, the Piston rules and
the Jordan
the Jordan rules and you can stop Jordan for a time and this and that. Guys,
okay,
Michael Jordan was still being Michael Jordan. He just happened to lose the game.
Just as Hakeem Olajuwon. I'm talking about player.
I know, and exactly.
Hakeem is he's a more versatile option.
Oh, stop.
If I'm starting a team, I'm starting it with Olajuwon over Jordan.
Stop.
I've made a very good case here as to why.
Your points are dancing around.
The incandescent talent of Hakeem Olajuwon is the biggest outlier in NBA
You're dancing around the point.
No, I'm not dancing around any issue.
Michael Jordan.
Okay, he won.
Michael Jordan was stopped, yes, but so was Hakeem Olajuwon, and you're not admitting to the fact that with all of this, there's only 2 times he won a ring, and the 2 times he won, and you know what? That's. It's kind of insulting to say only because winning a ring is the ultimate pinnacle in sports, in professional sports.
Right.
But the 2 times he won it, he didn't have the Bulls to worry about. And every other time, you could talk about the dream shake, you could talk about his versatility, and I agree with you, but the point that you're dancing around is this. He never got to the NBA Finals those years.
Who, Jordan?
Olajuwon. And he never got to those finals those years that he didn't win the championship because someone else stopped him. Someone else stopped him.
Okay, first of all,
if the teams are not good enough, the teams are not good enough. Life happens. But at the end of the day, Hakeem Olajuwon was stopped. And Hakeem Olajuwon.
Well, at the end of the day, Hakeem Olajuwon is still top. He's still more versatile. Top 10 in 4 categories: blocks, steals, rebounds.
Because Michael Jordan played.
And
how many years did Michael Jordan play? Let's really get out of this.
It doesn't matter. You just made the case that he did that. He still could have done it. He did all what he did in that time. He could have done that too. You made that argument earlier.
Right. My point is that even with all those years off, Michael Jordan still had 10,000 more points.
Nah, it wasn't 10,000. He only had 6,000 more. Come on, man.
Come on.
32,000 to 26,000. He didn't have 10,000 more points. Karl Malone had 10,000 more points than Olajuwon.
My point is that with 6 years off, are you kidding me? To have 6,000 more points than the guy you're trying to
but look at the team he's on. He's the primary option. I mean, Hakeem Olajuwon, for a time he had Clyde Drexler. Clyde Drexler is another Hall of Famer.
So now Hakeem Olajuwon wasn't as good. So now Hakeem Olajuwon wasn't as good as Clyde Drexler. So
I'm saying that he couldn't always
stop.
I'm saying that he couldn't always take over when he wanted to because Clyde Drexler in those last from 95 to 98, he had to get touches, or 94, whatever. It became 94 early.
But so did Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen. But he didn't see Michael Jordan defer with 5 seconds left.
He was so versatile. He was getting blocks, getting rebounds, and getting steals. He was doing so much at once.
I'm not saying Hakeem Olajuwon
sucks. You ask from him. And then again, the last 2-3 years of Jordan's career were more productive. Even though he was on the Wizards, he was still getting his 20-something points a game.
Oh yeah, that's another point.
Right.
Michael Jordan not one time averaged less than 20
last 3 years, he got 10 points, 11 points, and 7.1 points.
Yeah, exactly.
His workload had been reduced. On the Raptors, he was just kind of like a mentor. He was a player coach, just mentoring Antonio Davis, Jerome Williams, and other big guys.
No, but this is another point that I would like to mention here, is that Michael Jordan not one time averaged less than 20 points a game for a season. Not one time. Even with the Wizards. And even though, I will be the first to admit, those Wizards years were not great. They were not great. Those 2 seasons as part of the Washington Wizards, they were not great. So, sorry about that. He played 14 seasons in the NBA. Those 2 years with the Washington Wizards were not great. But even with all of that, he averaged 20 points a game as part of the Washington Wizards. Okay. Hakeem Olajuwon, by the end you get to the Toronto Raptors here, and he 7 points a game on the Toronto Raptors.
The Raptors have been... the Raptors already had a superstar who they were building around. The Wizards, Richard Hamilton was a good, serviceable player. I'm never going to take that away from him. But they were not building around Tyronn Lue and Richard Hamilton or Olumide Oyedeji in
or
Washington.
Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown.
No, and and you see,
he's even the poster child for that trust fund center model you want to build around.
And you see, and this is the issue is that what Michael Jordan did so much in such a short span of time.
I mean, forgive Olajuwon for not having a mid-career identity crisis and saying, "Oh, my father died. It's a serious issue. Yes, I want to go play baseball. So no one don't come and whip me and come and lash me." I mean,
that was. It sounded bad at first. I'm not gonna lie.
No, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
You explain.
I mean, yes, your father died. But that's another story. Anyway, I mean, you have that mid-career identity crisis. You leave. Olajuwon played 6 full more seasons. Obviously he was still bizarrely intense, relentlessly committed to basketball, and we can't fault him for that. Jordan had kind of these spells in his life, these kind of moments of where he just wanted transition. He had a lot of restless energy, and that's what led to that. I mean, kudos to him. He did so much in his career, but as an overall basketball player, if I'm starting a franchise, and I still think that Olajuwon's place, it's tremendously underrated. Bizarrely underrated.
I think he's top 5.
Dumbfounded? No.
I think he's top 5. I just don't think he's better.
Mainstream sports network in this continent today. Top 10, Hakeem does not make it in.
That's a shame. No, I'm not saying he's not top 5.
You talk about Bill Russell. I mean, Bill Russell was a great player. He won titles, but he was defense. He wasn't a complete player.
He also played in an age where the NBA, some of these scoring averages were just
exactly.
Oh my!
How does he was averaging a triple double? Oscar Robertson, the Big O, in a season averaging a triple double. The average height in the NBA wasn't even 6'5". So yeah, you were about to say.
No, I was gonna say, some of those. Remember these were one of those years where Wilt Chamberlain, and listen, putting up 50 points a game is putting up 50 points a game. I'm not discrediting putting up 50 points a game. But these are years where Wilt Chamberlain was averaging 50. Bill Russell was a 20 and 10 guy. There was a lot more possessions too. Exactly, and that's something that a lot of people forget. There was a lot of
the game
possessions.
Was so fast.
Yeah, those games were, if you go watch some of those old school NBAs, it was, it's amazing to see.
It was like a Mike D'Antoni game, the whole game.
It's amazing to see what these guys that apparently were not, as athletic, were playing with such speed.
Have the genes.
Yeah, didn't have the genes and didn't have the training. Yet these guys are going back and forth for 48 minutes, and they played. And the thing about it is, when you look at some of these minutes per game, Wilt Chamberlain is one of the few guys in NBA history, and I know we're deviating from the point, but this is the next point I want to go to was, the old era versus new era.
They played more minutes, played more consecutive games.
Right? Yeah. Wilt Chamberlain is the only guy to average, how do I explain this? There's 48 minutes in the game, in basketball, obviously. Wilt Chamberlain averaged more than that. In his year that he averaged 50 points a game. Anyway, before we get to that topic, Annikan, final point on Hakeem Olajuwon, make it quick.
Hakeem Olajuwon, at the end of the day, 2 titles and 3 appearances. The guy had 2 finals MVPs. 2-time defensive player of the year, 5-time All-NBA defensive first team. Look at this, Michael. But think about it. Apart from DeAndre Jordan today, who do we see this many 82 game seasons for? Who? Apart from DeAndre Jordan and maybe a couple outliers.
You're dancing away from the point. Compare his numbers to Michael Jordan's numbers.
Okay, yes. Michael Jordan averaged 30.2 points per game. Olajuwon 21.8. But overall, I'm taking Olajuwon because of the versatility, all the things he does on the floor, the dream shake, his ability. And one thing that is often also glossed over is that Jordan.
By the way, Michael Jordan played more games more 82 game seasons than Hakeem Olajuwon. That's another thing.
Well, he always hovered around.
Even in his last year too.
All right. Well, Hakeem had 4 full 82 game seasons, and most of the other seasons he was dancing around 80.
That's great, but Michael Jordan 1, 2, 3,
but 4, then they needed him.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seasons where he played 82 games.
Wow, okay, that's great, but
just go. Listen, stop that.
Hakeem Olajuwon. No, let me get to my point. And another reason why Hakeem Olajuwon is better than Michael Jordan. I'm not shying away. I have the courage of my convictions. I'm sticking with this, and I have a great point to bring here. Is that Hakeem Jordan is always celebrated as this great teammate, this great team player that elevated. No, Hakeem Olajuwon was the player that elevated his team. He made players that would have been scrubs on most teams look like superstars. I mean, Sam Cassell's on any team besides the Rockets.
Hey, don't you diss Black Frodo?
Sam Cassell, he looks like an alien along with Ronaldinho. Both look like aliens, but that's another issue.
Don't you diss Black Frodo?
Sam Cassell is on most teams, may not even be a sixth man. But on the Rockets, because of Hakeem deferring, that's the amount of Hakeem was willing to defer and was still putting up over 23 points a game for most of his career.
Just because he doesn't make you...
No, I'm saying he elevated his team. Jordan was bashing his team. A lot of times, a lot of those, especially those early Bulls days with like Bill Cartwright, John Paxson, PJ Armstrong. This guy was running his teammates into the ground. He was getting on them. There were fights in the locker room. This is documented. Skip Bayless was a sideline reporter. He worked in Chicago for, I think it was the Chicago Tribune. He was an editorial writer. He talked about how Jordan was not a team player. Even when they were winning, he still had a lot of issues because guys like Dennis Rodman and Scotty, they had more backbone and more spine. You weren't going to mess with those guys. But early on with his teams, Jordan was bashing his teammates, running them into the ground, lambasting them on almost a daily basis in practice, to the point where somebody said, I wanted to get a gun and shoot Michael Jordan. Yes. Yeah, Michael Jordan ran his teammates into the ground. Hakeem elevated his team and encouraged them.
There's one thing that, and this is my last point before we
Hakeem Olajuwon is a better player. He's a better person. And then don't even let me get into the Jordan whole gambling issue. Anyway, that's apart from basketball.
I'm about to say, listen,
Hakeem Olajuwon is a more versatile option. He does more for you on the floor throughout the course of a game. He can defend the perimeter. He's the center. He's the outlier at the center positions. He defies the stereotypes, and he produced championships. Yes, it was less, but he had less to work with, and he still did a lot. And to me, that the scary thing is that I don't even think he fully maxed out. But still, Hakeem Olajuwon, more versatile, uplifts the team, and he's the outlier at the center position.
He's not a better player than Michael Jordan.
He's a better player than Michael Jordan.
We got to go to the next
Michael was afraid of him. Yeah, that was my last point. Olajuwon is better just overall as a player.
So anyway, to the next topic, because we have spent 30 minutes on Michael Jordan versus Hakeem Olajuwon in an hour-long show. Old era versus new era. And by old era, I'm talking about the days of Wilt Chamberlain, the days of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, to today where, let's cut it off at about 95. So you got your over-the-hill years of Michael Jordan, right, the Kobe Bryants, and I guess we'll go neo-new era with Curry, LeBron, Harden, guys like that. So 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s to 2010s, to 2010s. For you, which era is the best era?
Oh, I would definitely have to pick that 90s era. So
I would agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, the 90s era, just the depth of talent throughout the league, the diversity of play, the diversity of styles that permeated the league at that time. I mean, you have in the Western Conference all the dominant big men, David Robinson, Karl Malone, Hakeem Olajuwon. Even in the East, you had Patrick Ewing. Dominic Wilkins. You just had the dominant center era is what I really call the 90s era. You had Shaquille O'Neal, who divided his time from the East, first with Orlando, then moving to the West with the Los Angeles Lakers. The NBA to me at that time was the most exciting thing, and you also couple that with the whole 90s culture with like the hip-hop movement, just the way the 90s, I mean, you have Space Jam.
And they weren't afraid to be part of the hip-hop movement.
Yeah, exactly. You have Space Jam. NBA was producing a home video every year, superstars, all these individual player profile home.
It would be amazing to see the video game boom in the 90s era. Like, let's say if technology was about 10 years quicker.
Yeah.
It would be amazing to see that 90s era. But I agree wholeheartedly. So,
but even at that time, I still feel like there were a lot of the NBA Hang Time, NBA Live.
Yeah, I know there was NBA Jam, but I'm just saying. I'm saying
or like
with
where
2K,
it is now. Yeah, with 2K and the
NBA Blacktop,
and just like the more developed algorithms and kind of the visuals, the graphic technology. I understand what you mean, but yeah, I would say that so the 90s there were just so many teams that like teams were like I said before, bizarrely intense and relentlessly committed. Those were the way the teams were in the 90s. It was very evident, it was very visual. The NBA was eye candy to some and an eyesore to others because of the way, it was a very brutish style of play in the East. You had the Knicks of the mid 90s that got demolished by the Bulls repeatedly, the Rockets. You had all these teams, the Phoenix Suns, all the Pistons, who their era was kind of phasing out in the early 90s. I like the physicality, I like the intensity, I liked how every game had the potential to be a bloodbath, and how all the teams were committed to the task of winning. There wasn't all this buddy of today. Let's all.
Yeah, that's one of the things I hate about the.
Yeah.
You just lost a series, and every man is like giving each other like a 5-minute speech in their ear after they lost a series.
Exactly.
For me, I'll never get this. When we got eliminated in OFSA, it was a handshake, and I went straight to the locker room.
Exactly.
It was none of this.
Fight. And you wanted the fight to break out.
I knew the guys on Blessed Trinity too. I still play ball with one of the guys at Blessed Trinity who go to the York U ball runs. And honestly, it was a handshake and I went home.
Exactly. That's just how it was.
It was not none of this. You give them a nice bro hug, you talk in their ear and be like, listen, buddy, you're gonna be good.
Exactly, all of that. I hate it. We all remember that infamous. I think it was the New York Knicks. I don't know if it was New York Knicks and Miami brawl when Jeff Van Gundy was on the ground trying to hold on to Alonzo Mourning and his head was just sliding against the floor. Like, that's what I loved. And then you got
no, but even that because it gets dangerous, and that's why I think Malice in the Palace showed us that sometimes these things get out of hand.
No,
and when they get out of hand,
everyone remained. But see, nothing is really going to happen. Everybody remains alive. No one died in any of these.
No, I know, but like the problem is, as much as we romanticize that era because of its competitiveness and the fire and the fervor, we don't really have much time here. So to get into this, the reason why the 2000s is a lot more aesthetically pleasing to a lot more people and it's a lot more marketable is because. One, there's a lot of cultural rejection. And two, sometimes, and I'll admit this, these things get out of hand. Right. And when they get out of hand, you get the Rudy Tomjanovich story where Rudy runs into a punch from, what's his name? He's a really nice guy.
Doug Collins.
It wasn't Doug Collins. I think it was Nate Washington. Nate Washington. I'm going to say Nate Washington. It was on the LA Lakers team. Nate Washington hit Rudy Tomjanovich so hard that Rudy Tomjanovich went from an all-star to not to a scrub, but to a bench player in one punch.
Yeah.
You have instances like the Malice in the Palace. People were sued. Fans were attacked. It's not.
Ron Artest lost this season.
Yeah.
Steven Jackson was suspended.
It's not it still went out of hand and people did get hurt.
But see the thing.
And so the issue is that as much as we romanticize it, I'm not going to sit here and say that they didn't have a tendency to get out of hand.
Right. No, but see, what I'm saying is that, I just like they have a tendency to get out of hand, but it just, you talk about the cultural rejection and the cynicism and venom from the outside world, but who cares? The NBA was still making, I think the NBA, in a way, was even making more money then per capita than it is now. Like, the NBA, yes, now has
it's making way more money because of just how you can use, the advancement of technology.
Yeah, but for that period, if you look at it verbatim, then the NBA was making more money. The ratings were higher. The highest viewed finals to date is still the 1998 finals. That's still the highest. You go look at the Nielsen SoundScan stats. Go look that up. I think it was an 18.7 out of 33. The highest viewed NBA finals in NBA history. And even what makes that era so great also as well, the 90s, the explosive offense of the Seattle Supersonics, Sean Kemp with Gary Payton, so many, the mailman, that duo in Utah with John Stockton and Karl Malone, the Phoenix Suns, all the three-point shooters they had, Danny Ainge, Dan Marley, all those Kevin Johnson, AC Green, Charles Barkley. Just so many styles throughout the league, and every team had a go-to player. Olajuwon for the Rockets, David Robinson for the Spurs, Bulls, Michael Jordan. And then you start to even see this new young crop coming We've got the Latrell Sprewells, the Allen Houstons, the Iversons, the Marburys that were coming in the later 90s who looked so promising, and most of them became great stars. Some of them, their careers kind of ended earlier than expected. The Marburys, the Iversons. Latrell Sprewells, he did it to himself. He claimed they weren't giving him enough money in 05, 06. Guy could have still played another 6 years in the league. The guy said, "Oh, I need enough money to feed my kids. They're offering you $5 million a year. How are you not going to feed?" Anyway, but but yeah, it was a great era to me. The '90s, late '80s, '90s, even the early 2000s. That was my '90s, early 2000s best era in basketball.
All right, let's switch topics to the new topic, and that is we're gonna have to skip a couple, but
Diamond Stone.
Diamond Stone's gonna have to be saved for to maybe the rundown of next week's episode.
Okay, next week.
But we got the new era of NBA. We have this era of super teams now. One super team is, of course, right now the Golden State Warriors. Who wins the NBA championship? Is it going to be still the Golden State? Is it going to be the Golden State Warriors, or are we going to see another team?
Well, I mean, there are three criteria for being able to win in any sport in any era. It's great coaching, great talent, and being built for the era that you're in. Those are my three criteria for a successful team in any era, any time in history in sports. And right now, the Golden State Warriors have that. Sorry, can you repeat the question? The question was who's going to win?
Who's going to win?
I mean, no, I'm still going with Cleveland because to me, I don't care about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has just continually, especially over the last 2 years, shown just such a weak kind of mentality, a running mentality, run away from the moment, shrink under pressure mentality. And this is just the biggest example. It's like the team that just beat you, you were up 3-1 on a team, 3-1. To me, that Golden State Thunder series will go down as one of the most epic collapses in NBA playoff history, especially in the Western Conference Finals.
So the Golden State Warriors, well, I guess because Bogut was injured, it's a little more different. But
that Golden State Warriors. No, I'm talking about the Thunder losing to the Warriors.
No, but like the Golden State Warriors with the Cleveland Cavaliers, that's not collapsed.
Oh yeah, it's also a collapse. They're both gonna go down. But I'm just saying for what Oklahoma City needed, especially those their games in the regular season that were just so close, and how much Westbrook hated Curry, and how much the rivalry that ensued because of those games, you would have thought that the Thunder would have tried to just get it, like they would have just taken it to the Warriors. And just to see Kevin Durant run, I'm still going with Cleveland. As long as LeBron's on any team, you're in the game all day, every day. I think Cleveland's going to win.
I would lean Golden State. I think that even look at how the teams went. The teams just, they look similar except for one thing, and that wild card was Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is top 5 to top 10 player in this league here. I would tend to lead Golden State. Guy that we love seeing comedy from, Mark Phillips, Supreme Dreams 1. Remember what he said? They're the Justice League. It's quite accurate, actually. They have a lot of weapons, and it's an embarrassment of riches. You would just, on paper, and games are not played on paper. We learned that lesson last year. Well, maybe not, because at the end of the day, was Golden State really that much more talented than Cleveland? I don't know. But they had 72 wins. But anyway, on paper, the Golden State Warriors look like they should run away with this season pretty handily. Anyway, any point you want to say before we take the break here?
No, I mean, my one point, I mean, the main topic, obviously, in this main block was the Olajuwon thing. Mm-hmm. So for me, Olajuwon, I mean, there's a reason why he's called the Dream. Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. Like, if you just, it's so amazing, everything about Hakeem Olajuwon. I mean, I remember watching, there was that Hakeem the Dream talking about NBA entertainment home videos, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon from the 90s. Just seeing, I mean, this guy came from, you talk about a dream, that you want to have a dream life. To come from Lagos, Nigeria, to come to the NBA, like to come to University of Houston, you're coached by Guy Lewis. And Hakeem's, I even wanted to get into it in the main block, but Hakeem had to me, Hakeem's collegiate career was better than Michael Jordan's, despite the fact that he didn't win. He obviously lost to North Carolina State the first year of the Wolfpack, then lost to Patrick Ewing and Georgetown in '84, which
See, that's another thing I hate. The Big East is no longer a thing.
The Big East. Yeah, the requiem of the Big East. Yeah, the 30 for 30 talks. Yeah,
the worst part is we only got like the declining years.
Yeah, the series. Yeah, it's really sad. They all branched into the ACC or some league around there, but. Yeah, I really just think, his collegiate career was better despite the fact he didn't win. 5 Slamma Jamma last week. Another 30 for 30 was just released about that last week on Tuesday. 5 Slamma Jamma. Hakeem, there's just so many layers and levels to the career of Hakeem Olajuwon that I would really need hours to talk about because there's just so much to discuss. But yeah, Hakeem, I still maintain what I said. I hope I painted a pretty decent picture of how he's the best player in NBA history.
And you didn't. Anyway, guys, we're going to take the break.
I did.
We're going to take the break. When we get back, we're going to get into the Fan Eye Rundown. Welcome back to the Sports Misfits. I'm your host, Michael Asiffo. This is my co-host, Annikan Okutinyang. Annikan, you ready for the tribute to our old show, the Fan Eye Rundown?
Yes. Sorry, I'll just look at the topics.
Basically, this rundown is going to be everything else. So everything else that we did not talk about, the rundown, let's go. First question. What genuinely surprised you in week 7 of the NFL?
For me, what genuinely surprised me,
Sunday Night Football? Was this? Are you gonna
Nah. It was that the Vikings-Eagles game.
Yeah.
That was very surprising. How did the Eagles win that game?
Eagles, y'all, like
the
Eagles.
Eagles fly like an eagle. Seal. But yeah, Space Jam nostalgia there, but. Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, they were just getting after the quarterback. I mean, I heard all through last week about how the defense of Philadelphia was not. It was a good defense, a much improved defense since Chip Kelly left, which was to be expected because he's just an offense guy. But it was nothing compared to the Vikings defense. I was just surprised. Very captivated. Sorry?
Every dog has his day. Right?
Yeah, but still, the way they just got after Sam Bradford, that guy had no time in the pocket at all.
Yeah.
If they weren't sacking him, they were getting him down, they were batting balls. It was so surprising. I'm just dumbfounded. I'm shocked at that.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you until I saw the embarrassment that was Sunday Night Football. And to have 2 kickers miss from inside the 30 on game-winning field goals is just maddening to watch. You had Chandler Catanzaro, he hits it off the post, and then you have Steven Hauschka from 19 yards out just outright missing it. And if I'm the rest of the team from either side, you're not allowed in my locker room. Like after that, you are not allowed in my locker room. I do not care. Because this is the thing that you get paid to do, right? If it was 55 yards, like one of those movies where someone hits like the 57-yard field goal to win and everyone's dancing around and the fans rush the field. If it was one of those moments and you miss, it's 57 yards. What are you going to do? But you get paid to hit that on a daily basis. Not just a weekly basis, not just Sunday. They pay you in practice to hit those for scrimmage. And you're telling me that you couldn't do it when the team needs you most? It was pretty disappointing. And, I would have said that the Minnesota Vikings losing was surprising because the Minnesota Vikings were just so good that I didn't see that coming. But you know what? I don't even know if the Minnesota Vikings are really that good to be honest with you.
No, I mean, a lot of people are thinking they're going to be a Super Bowl contender.
Because defensively they're great, but is Sam Bradford really going to lead you to
football teams are built from inside out.
Yeah.
Not the sideline in. They're built inside out. Especially in the NFC, games are won in the trenches. It's a very, the AFC is about talented quarterbacks and explosive offenses. The NFC is about defenses, grinding it out. You have the Seahawks. You have all these teams. You have the Seahawks, the Packers that have a relatively good defense. You have the Steelers are the outliers for defense in the AFC. That's like your outlier. But in the NFC, it's about defense. You have the Seahawks, the Vikings right now. So this is the culture of the NFC, and it's just all these NFC, especially even if it's not an in-division rivalry, NFC games are going to have these kind of outcomes, in which we should see this.
Yeah, but the kicking was in that Sunday Night Football game was just unbelievably bad. Next question. We're going to shift over to the world of the MLB. Who wins the World Series?
Well, this series is a series of very atrocious, egregious histories when it comes to droughts for a title. Cleveland, right? Cleveland and Chicago. Chicago has the worst. The Chicago Cubs and Cleveland Indians. So, clash of mediocrity is what I call this series. The clash of mediocrity is this year's World Series, and it's really it becomes who's the better anomaly, really, because
there should be no way Cleveland wins this, and that's why
and there's a momentum of a historical reverse momentum for Cleveland right now that was spearheaded by LeBron, and we're now with the Indians, definitely not with the Browns, and maybe it can come back and swing Cleveland's way again. The pendulum is swinging, and
here's the
landed
thing.
on Cleveland.
If you really look at the team, the Chicago Cubs all year long have been just unbelievably great. They are amazing at doing what they do, and that is they hit you with good pitching, and then they hit you with good hitting. That's just what they do. And the thing about Cleveland was with basically two starting pitchers, they have essentially beat a better team in the Boston Red Sox, embarrassed them, dominated the Boston Red Sox, then dominated the Blue Jays, another team that they shouldn't have won against.
Yeah, that was the Blue Jays thing. I'm still reeling after that.
Both series, they just inexplicable wins. Inexplicable, because there should be no way that a team with the kind of talent that both the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays possess should lose to the Cleveland Indians. And even more so with the Chicago Cubs. There's no way Cleveland should beat the Chicago Cubs. And that is why I think Cleveland's going to win the series. Because at some point you just got to go, you got to go with your heart and my heart. And something I don't know what it is, but something's telling me, my gut is telling me that Cleveland might be able to pull this off with just two pitchers.
Yeah.
But my brain is telling me Chicago in 4. Right, so.
I mean, I'm surprised both these teams got here, to be honest.
Even as well as Chicago played.
Cleveland, I just thought Toronto should have won that series.
But even with Chicago, you knew they were going to the World Series.
They've been run wound away 2 years in a row.
Yeah, but Chicago, you knew they were going to the World Series.
Yeah, Chicago, from the early parts of the year, Chicago was kind of like the path was being paved for Chicago to go. And they made it. So, Chicago, everybody was talking about Chicago, how this was they're going to reverse history this year. They're awful. I think it's been, 100? How long is it since they won a World Series?
108.
Yeah, 108 years.
1908 was the last.
Cleveland people were lamenting because of 52 years for an entire franchise in that city. So when you look at it, when you quantify it, because one is the whole team in the city. The Bulls just won 18 years ago. So, they're both very bad histories, and it's a clash of mediocrity. Okay. Or below mediocrity, I should say. Okay,
I would say, you know what? I'm gonna go with Cleveland in 6. Who you going with?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cleveland, probably in 5.
Yeah. Okay. So next question. The Toronto Maple Leafs have coughed up 2 leads in 2 games. From the time that this
again, what did I say last week?
Do they have an issue with defense and goaltending? Or goaltending? Either one.
Asking that question is like asking, are me and you black? Of course they do. They've had this issue for the last 4 years.
But see, here's the thing. Is it goaltending or is it defense? Because the problem with if you really don't analyze, and shots on goal isn't always the greatest measurement for this, is whose fault is it that the Leafs are giving up so many goals in late situations? Is it defensively? Okay. Are the Leafs not up to snuff? Or is it because Frederick Anderson and Jonas Enroth are crapping the bed.
Yeah, I sense
and
that.
So what you have is right now is what's really the problem? Or is Morgan Riley messing up in late game situations? Is it because he's young and he's gonna make mistakes, or is it because Frederick Anderson has just been completely awful for the season? And so is it both? Is it one? Is it the other? And this is the issue we have to try and step out here in about 2 minutes, because it's a rundown. But I guess that you could say both, but that's simple. I think it's simple, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say more to the defense, because that's a good point to make about shots on target, because I think that just because they're getting shots, it means the defense isn't doing their job.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it becomes one of those tricky situations where you have to think, if the defense was there just a second sooner, would that prevent the puck from getting to the goal?
Yeah.
Because once you get a lot of shots on goal, eventually there's going to be a goal. Mm-hmm. Because it's just repetitive motions. It's like muscle memory. Like they're just shooting. So
yeah, but and again, like here's the thing,
I really
right?
can't, like, I don't. It's just it's a very tough question, because I don't. All I know is that just at that hole at the back, they're just horrible. But that's the easy thing to say. But whether I would lean more towards the defense, just because
I would lean towards the goaltending. I think that when you look at some of these games, both goalies, both Frederick Anderson and Jonas Enroth, have been giving up some softies. They've been giving up some really. You ever wonder, like, when there are some howls. You're seeing the puck go in the net, and you're asking yourself, how did that go in? And I think a lot of teams are finding the recipe to beat these guys is going glove side and going high. But I don't know, because you're also getting 30 shots on goal a night, and you're asking yourself, are they really playing as good as defense as they should?
Yeah.
Okay, last topic. Chelsea vs Man U.
Blue Lions.
4-0 destruction, as the special one came back to Chelsea and basically got a spanking.
Yeah, he got a special beating. That's what he got. He got a very special beating.
Okay, in one word, Chelsea versus Man U was
amazing. It was delightful. It was delightfully destructive.
I'm gonna say I'm pleasantly surprised, because Man U defensively.
Yeah, I think we were all surprised.
Yeah, Man U defensively are very good. I think offensively there are some question marks. Obviously, Ibra's over the hill. He still plays well. Like, Ibra over the hill is better than Nicholas Anelka in his prime. I'm kidding, but
no.
But it's a joke, Nicholas. It's a joke. But
wow. No.
But it's the offensively, Man U's had some issues. So I think coming into this game, the story was how is Man U going to score? But both sides of the pitch, they were just masterfully outclassed.
Yeah, they were massively outclassed, and that's a very good word to use, especially because it's England, outclassed. So Chelsea, Man U, 4-0. Pedro scored 30 seconds in. One thing I always say about goalkeeping is don't come out too early. That's what De Gea did. He came out too early. The guy was Pedro was able to gain some ground. He used his left foot and struck it in the net. Cahill scored in the 21st minute off of a set piece. I think it was a corner kick or a throw-in. I forgot which one. Hazard scored in the 62nd minute, and Kanté scored in the 70th minute. And one thing is that Kanté's presence in Chelsea this season has just been really inspirational, uplifting, and refreshing. Somebody who he plays very good on the ball, he makes plays. The guy knows, he really commands that midfield area, I would say. I'm not sure if you would agree.
No, I definitely.
Like, Kante is really a good. He advances the offense, and one thing is that Pogba is really. You talk about some signings that are just like, where is Pogba for Man U, right? He scored 2 goals in their Europa League match against Fenerbahce on Thursday, but this guy, where is this guy right now?
He's on a milk carton because he's missing.
Like, the guy, Pogba, you dab. It's good you want to dab when you score a goal against Fenerbahce, but you have to, this is why you were signed for in excess of 100 million.
But see, this is when you wonder how much was he a beneficiary of Vidal and his work on the ball, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that as Pogba, I mean, the defense of Man U, I've always thought that defense is overrated, even from the days of Ryan Giggs and Scholes and some of those guys.
Oh, you're now you're talking crazy.
No, but no. I've always, the same thing I have about Man U. I hate Man U just slightly less than I hate the Warriors, but that's another story. Like, just Chelsea, this is why Chelsea has been Chelsea for the last 12 years, is that it doesn't matter which manager they have. Everyone thinks it's Mourinho started and created the culture. Like Jason Whitlock always says, culture of winning matters. And this is something that was started by Mourinho, and it was being thrown in his face yesterday. And one way I would put it is that it was supposed to be it was supposed to be a mountainous game, but it was a molehill outcome for Man U. It was supposed to be a mountainous, big expectation, the subplots, everything. Pogba, this is his first big test. What's he gonna do? Chelsea with a lot of, Victor Moses, Kante, Hazard, Costa, everybody. But yet, Chelsea just displayed the culture of winning. The culture of winning matters. They won. Everybody, their defense is still solid, even without John Terry there. Cahill still does a good job for the most part. And yeah, the explosive offense.
Yeah, definitely.
And from different contributors.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to now shift focus to the next block, and that is corrections and clarifications. Okay, so you had something you want to say about Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah, the Hakeem Olajuwon Jordan head-to-head matchups. Mike, you can just kind of talk as we get to that.
So do you want me to sing a song, or what do you want me to do, man?
Just
okay.
Keep the audience engaged.
We can talk about the Rudy Tomjanovich thing. Rudy Tomjanovich, obviously the player on the Houston Rockets who got punched in the face by none other than, and we were forgetting the name here. Back in the day, we talk about hockey having enforcers. Back in the day, the NBA used to have enforcers, obviously. In the 70s, you think about the 90s and 2000s and their fighting problem. In the 70s and 80s, they had that was a fighting problem on steroids. So I'm gonna take a look here, and the guy who punched Rudy Tomjanovich in the face was Kermit Washington, not Nate Washington.
All right,
go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, good point. Here are the stats for that. For all the years that both Hakeem and Jordan were in the league and played against each other, both in their primes. This is Houston, Chicago. This is not taking into, just as a disclaimer that this doesn't include when Jordan was on the Wizards. Just Houston, Chicago in their prime. So 1984, Rockets won the season series 2-0. Houston again 2-0. That's 2 for Houston. 86 was a tie. 87 2-0. That's 3 for Houston. So then 88 2-0 for Chicago, 3-1. 1989 1-1, a tie again. 1-1 again in 90. 2-0 91. That's 4-1 for Houston. 1-1 in 92. 2-0 in 93. So that's 5-1 for Houston. 1-1, 1-1, a tie. 2-0 for Chicago, 5-2. 1-1 in 97. And then 2-0 in 98. So 5-3. So in their head-to-head matchups, Hakeem won. He had more. So in 5 seasons, the Rockets had more wins than the Bulls. They only beat them in the season series 3 times. So 5-3 in favor of Olajuwon and the Rockets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let everybody.
So, and that just further reinforces my point that would have been a very interesting and captivating finals. I would have taken the Rockets had we seen it, but then with Jordan and his exploits, we never know what could have happened, but I would still lean in favor of the Rockets and Olajuwon.
Okay. So, with that in mind,
the dream.
I don't agree, and I disagree wholeheartedly, but we have a show to cap off here. Tune in next week. Hopefully same time, same place. We might get canceled because we suck at our jobs, but whatever.
I don't suck.
Have yourself a great weekend. Have yourself a great weekend.
Oh, yes, and also you have a great week as well, Mike. The NBA debuts tomorrow, Tuesday, October.
From the time we were recording this.
Yeah. So October 25th, whenever that is after this is released, either today or tomorrow. So October 25th, I'm sure it'll be on TSN Yeah, so check those first games of the season tomorrow.